President Trump on Thursday ramped up his war with social media companies by signing an executive order that aims to curtail their legal liability protections, 2 days after Twitter slapped fact-check labels to a pair of his tweets about fraud in mail-in voting for the first time. "We're here today to defend free speech from one of the greatest dangers it has faced in American history," Trump said before signing the executive order in the Oval Office where Attorney General Bill Barr was present. A small handful of powerful social media monopolies, Trump said, had unchecked power to censor, restrict, edit, shape, hide, alter virtually any form of communication between private citizens or large public audiences. Trump declared, "We can't let this continue to happen, it's very, very unfair." The president added, "This censorship and bias is a threat to freedom itself. Imagine if your phone company silenced or edited your conversation." Social media companies have vastly more power in the United States than newspapers, thereby far more rich than any other traditional forms of communication. Trump vowed that social media companies that engage in censoring or any political company will not be able to keep their liability shield. "My executive order further instructed the Federal Trade Commission to prohibit social media companies from engaging in any deceptive acts or practices," said the commander-in-chief, who at one point held up a copy of Thursday's NY Post featuring a lead member of Twitter's policing team who once called the president a racist tangerine. Trump's order directs federal agencies to look at whether they can place new regulations on the tech giants like Twitter, Facebook and Google, which owns YouTube. "There's no precedent in American history for so small a number of corporations to control so large a sphere of human interaction," said Trump, who claimed that Twitter is making editorial decisions. "As president, I'm not allowing the American people to be bullied by these giant corporations. Many people have wanted this to be done by presidents for a long time," he said. The order also seeks to clarify regulations under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, a 1996 landmark federal law that largely exempts online platforms from legal liability for material posted by their users, allowing them to be treated more like publishers. Rolling back those regulations would expose the tech companies to more civil liability lawsuits. Barr said the order sets up a rulemaking procedure that will eventually be under the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, to try to get back to the original interpretation and understanding of Section 230. It also empowers the Attorney General to work with state attorneys general to come up with model legislation that addresses this mistake, Barr said. "And we're preparing federal legislation, which we'll be sending over shortly, for the consideration of the Office of Management Budget." Barr noted that the order does not repeal Section 230. "I'm not against Section 230 if it was properly applied, but it's been stretched and I don't know anyone on Capitol Hill who doesn't agree that it's been stretched beyond its original intention," he said. The Attorney General said the law has been completely stretched to allow it to become really behemoths who control a lot of the flow of information in our society to engage in censorship of that information and to act as editors and publishers of the material. Barr compared the censorship to that of foreign governments like Communist China. The order also calls for a review of unfair or deceptive practices by the social media companies and for the FCC to determine whether actions like the editing of content by the tech companies should lead to the firms forfeiting the protections under Section 230. Trump's executive order calls on the government to reassess whether federal online advertising dollars should be held back from the social media giants if they violate free speech principles. When asked by a reporter during the signing of the executive order whether Trump, a prolific tweeter with more than 80 million followers, will delete his account, the president said, "If you weren't fake, I would do it in a heartbeat. If we had a fair press in this country, I would do that in a heartbeat. There's nothing I'd rather do than get rid of my own Twitter account." Earlier in the day, ahead of the signing, Trump tweeted, "This will be a big day for social media and fairness." On Tuesday, Twitter attached warning links to two of Trump's tweets in which the president claimed that allowing large-scale mail-in voting would result in a rigged election. "Get the facts about mail-in ballots," the label on the tweet state, and redirects users to news articles and disputing that voting by mail would allow for rampant fraud.